Welcome to the True Demon Lord show. I am the True Demon Lord, Franco McDonald, and today we're going to be focusing on fixed secondaries and how to get the most points out of them using your Chaos Demon units. Going into the best units for each one, as well as stratagems you can use in combination to score the best you can on these during your games. So getting into the first one, we're going to focus on Stormhostile Objective. So Stormhostile Objective is at the end of your turn, control an objective that your opponent held at the start of your turn. So this is kind of a two bird one stone secondary, sorry, because the name of the game is to really hold your primary points, as well as trying to deny your opponent's primary points at the same time. So with this, you'll deny your opponent's primary for their following turn, while also getting 4 points for doing it. So best units really we have to do or to score this. Blood Crushers are pretty good. They've got some good speed in them. If they hit and they do their impact hits, they can do a lot of wounds. They're quite tough to take the punch back. So you can really use them to flip objectives, being able to also use their large base sizes to block anything of your opponents getting back onto that objective for the next turn. Fiends aren't too bad at it either, being fast while a bit expensive, can go straight through walls. Again, if there's any straggler units or small objective holding units, they're quite good at dealing with them at strength 5 minus 2 damage. Bloodletters, Demonettes, Plaguebearers, Pink Horrors, your battle line units. All OC 2 each, very good to just drop down on objectives or even to, with indicator Bloodletters, maybe to drop down, clear something off it. Demonettes can, unless it's something too tough. If it's something toughest free area, they can deal with it as well. Flame bearers again are just tough, can kind of make their way onto the objectives and kind of just steal it. And then your greater demons, all your greater demons are 5 OC. Very good for again running forward and taking the objectives by force, or even just to try and take them and using their OC to just bully your opponent off that objective. So different stratagems we can use with this. Denizens of the Warp, 3-inch deep strike. So if your opponent leaves just a slight gap on the objective or doesn't quite screen it out properly, this is where dropping things like Plague Bearers, Pink Horrors, Great Unclean Ones are very good to just drop down. And then if you need to do any further damage, you can with other units or even the units you've dropped with shooting. For example, a lot of chains 3 inches away, then shoots and clears most or the whole unit off the objective. Realm of Chaos as well just lets you, at the end of your opponent's turn, you go up with 1 or 2 units if both in the shadows, come back down. This allows you to reposition, get ready to focus on certain objectives, especially if you have either the Shadows of Chaos up or you use Be'lakor to drop down with wholly within 6 of him and 6 from the opponent, allowing you to charge onto the objective, things like Blood Crushers, Bloodletters, and Greater Demons like Blood Thirsters, Shalaxi, Keepers, etc. etc. Then we have Warp Surge as the last good stratagem to score Storm with. So Warp Surge is advance and charge if you're in the shadows when you do your charge. Um, so again, very good on Shalaxi, Blood Crushers, Keepers, Bloodthirsters, just allowing you to be able to cross the board and being able to get a better charge on a unit, being able to clear it off that objective. So overall, you get 4 points every time you do this. So missing one will obviously drop you down to 16 cap for the rest of the game, 12 cap if you miss 2 turns, etc. etc. This is kind of where you want to play a slower game. You don't want to just completely smash your opponent off the midfield and then stop them getting on because it's obviously going to impact your points. But not a bad option if you know your opponent's just going to be flooding the objective with certain units. You can just keep knocking this out. And again, only needing to do it on one objective every turn, as well as playing into the whole primary denial as well. It's not a bad option. So going into the next one, we've got Bring It Down. So you got your classic kill big things secondary. So of course, this is when you kill monsters or vehicles. Depending on the amount of wounds they've got, 0 to 9 will get you 2 points. 10 to 14 will get you 3 points. 14 to 19 will get you 4 points. And then 20 plus will get you 5 points. So best units we have for this, you're going to want your damage dealing units for this, of course. So Shalaxi, very good. She gets a reroll hits, wounds, and damage, as well as charge rolls into monsters, vehicles, and character units. So she's kind of built for this. Very good at killing most models in the game. Bloodthirst and Scarbrand, again, they put out quite large damage, especially Scarbrand being flat 6 damage. Very good at bringing down vehicles, good AP as well to be able to cut through armor saves. The Lord of Change, a lot of good firepower, being able to do it at range. Him in combination with some of the combat monsters allows you to be able to pick multiple a turn to be able to pull down. And then Blood Crushers with Rendmaster support also very good at it. Blood Crushers again doing their D3 mortals on a 4+ per Blood Crusher in a unit on the charge. Then Rendmaster's giving them either +1 strength, AP, and damage, stacking depending on how many you've got. So again, they can really go in, do a lot of the damage on the charge, and then because of the higher strength, maybe not as wound as bad, maybe going from wounding on 6s to 5s, and then having good damage because of the Rendmaster buffs, being able to just every wound goes through, obviously chip it down and finish it off. So stratagems here, I mean, Realm of Chaos comes up again, up and down. Again, it allows you to reposition. Your opponent might place certain vehicles or certain monsters into certain areas of the board. It always allows you to just be able to interact with your opponent, unless they're screening out very, very good. If they leave a gap for you to be able to drop Bellicor down, and then say bring Shalaxi within 6, Bloodthirst within 6, Crushers, etc., etc. Warp Surge again, advance and charge. You get closer, easier charge. I mean, enough said on that. And then Drought of Terror gives you +1 AP for all your attacks. So this is good on the Lord of Change, taking him up to AP3 and AP2 on his shooting attacks. Even Shalaxi becomes AP4 and AP3 on her Soul Piercer and her Claws. And Blood Crusher's becoming AP3 and 2, and then obviously stacking again with the Rendmaster buffs to either, if you're not worried about invuns, just being able to punch through any kind of armor saves. So this is, yeah, it's a pretty good secondary to take if you're going into armies like Tau, who hemorrhage it with their battle suits. And then Knight's also a very good one if you build properly. If you take Shalaxi and you've got a Lord of Change, Bloodthirst or Scarbrand as well around there. If you know you can consistently get the damage out, that's pretty good. If you know your opponent can deal with your damage dealing units, though, may not be a great idea, because as soon as you lose one or two of those big damage dealers, a lot of the demon stuff then struggles to deal with vehicles unless they're quite light or weaker vehicles, such as battle suits, which aren't exactly weak, just weaker than things like knights and stuff. So one you want to be careful with, but if you know you can win that war of attrition and just keep going, or your opponent just has a lot that you know you can smash into it on a go turn and be able to take a lot of those points, then definitely a good one to look into. Next we go behind enemy lines. This is a secondary built for armies like us, where we can go up and down, come 3 inches away. Everything we have can deep strike innately. So we're behind enemy lines. You get 3 points if you have an enemy, if you have one of your units in the enemy deployment zone at the end of your turn, or 4 points if you have 2 units in the enemy deployment zone at the end of your turn. So good units for this. Seekers, incredibly fast. They're very good at getting it turn 1, because the problem is if you go first, this is a bit of a hard one to score. Seekers can actually get around that. They get a 9-inch scout. Also have a 14-inch move with rerolls on the advance or charge, and being able to get +1 on the charge as well, being able to run them forward, get a cheeky charge in, maybe not kill the unit, but get enough of a movement that they can kind of squeeze into your opponent's deployment zone, getting you some of these points early game 1, at turn 1, sorry. Nurglings will always be good at it. Again, can forward deploying 9 inches away, maybe move forward and get a charge. Probably not the best way to do it, but being so cheap, they're prime candidates for Realm of Chaos, going up and down. Small footprint, so they can kind of drop into your opponent's, into any gaps your opponent leaves. Same with Flamers, up and down, or even just coming in from deep strike. Quite a small footprint, so they can fit into most gaps that your opponent leaves. Screamers, super fast, 14-inch move, fly, beast, being able to zoom, getting them ready by moving them to the mid board, turn 1, turn 2, and then being able to zoom into your opponent's deployment zone for the following turns. And then beasts, again, good deep strike candidates, smaller footprint, being able to just fit into those gaps. So, of course, all your stratagems that allow you to constantly move about. Realm of Chaos, very good for this. Denizens of the Warp, also pretty good, being able to fit in with that 3-inch deep strike into any kind of gaps. And then Warp Surge as well, being able to advance and charge, because again, it gets you closer, being able to then be closer with smaller charges, be able to use that to ping yourself into your opponent's deployment zone. So overall, behind enemy lines, pretty good. Maybe you want to create a plan that if you go first, you can still kind of score it. Seekers, again, like I said, are pretty good at that. But yeah, so behind enemy lines, pretty good. 3 points or 4 points. So you're going to be scoring, even if you get a couple of times of just getting one unit in your opponent's deployment zone, you're still going to score it fairly well. Next, we have Assassination. So, I mean, the name speaks for itself. You want to kill characters. It's what you want to do. And if your opponent takes a lot of different characters, then this is a good one to take. Can be a trap. So if your opponent has tough characters or the ability to hide their characters, get them away. They have stratagems or abilities that allow them to run away when you get close. Stuff like that. Maybe not. But if your opponent has a lot of weak characters and they haven't really got a lot of tricks to protect them, then pretty good secondary to go with. Units, Shalaxi, obviously very good at this. She can innately pick people out with her Soul Piercer stick. So, again, she will pick up most small characters in the game, if not all small characters in the game. Even the bigger characters, like other greater demons or stuff like that. Bloodthirst and Scarbrand being able to use the core stratagem that gives you precision. They're very good. Again, high damage, good strength, being able to smash down into multiple characters. Having Shalaxi and a Bloodthirster, or even Scarbrand being able to do this in the same turn, allowing you to pick up multiple characters in a turn is quite good. Skull Taker, innate precision, just like Shalaxi, so you don't even have to spend a CP to do it. So again, Shalaxi, a CP on a Bloodthirster with Scarbrand, and Skull Taker, all being able to do it in one turn, pretty good. He also gets to reroll hits and wounds against characters, and gains your CP every time he kills one. And then Ren Masters, surprisingly good against characters. They get to reroll wounds against character units. So that's pretty good. And they also get to heal themselves when they kill a character. So, and again, about 3 damage across the board on them as well. Can pick up a lot of small characters. So again, Realm of Chaos is going to be a good one for this, allowing you to reposition, being able to get to wherever your opponent might move or hide their characters. Warp Surge, allowing you to get closer again, smaller charges. And then Drought of Terror for +1 AP and reroll wounds if the unit is battle shocked. This just allows you to maybe punch through that high armor save. But again, most of these options that we've said here already have fairly high AP anyway, but the options there. So going into Cleanse. Cleanse is another good option for us, I think. So Cleanse is one where you do an action on an objective, getting 2 points if you do it on one if you control it at the end of your turn, or getting 4 points if you do it on two if you control them both at the end of your turn. Now the thing with Cleanse, which is quite nice, is one unit can cleanse on two objectives as it's an action the unit does, and then if a unit that cleanse is on an objective that you control at the end of your turn, you score a point for each objective you are on. So because of the way it's worded, you could take, for example, a unit of Flesh Hounds, move them up 12, string them across two objectives, score 4 points on cleanse, which is pretty good. Pink Rovers and Plague Bearers are pretty good at this, using denizens to warp to drop them 3 inches away. 2 OC allows you to not have to get the full squad on and still be able to take the objective in a lot of cases, so making them very good cleanse candidates. Screamers are very fast, can do early game cleanse. But the other thing is, being able to move them up onto an objective with their speed, killing a unit with something in combat, or even say a Lord of Change with their shooting, then they're already on there to finish the cleanse. Fleshhounds, like we said with the Screamers, and like we just said, good at going forward early game. Great and Klingmite, again, good for just dropping down 3 inches away with his 5 OC and being able to clear stuff off with other units as well, allows him to just drop with it. And then probably not die most of the time, being able to just keep doing it unless your opponent just floods the objective. And then Nurglings, again, that are 0 OC, so you do have to get another unit on there. It does allow you to set them up on objectives round 1, and then advance something on there, not having to worry about the unit that advancing not being able to do the action because the Nurglings do it. They just give you the OC to control the objective to get the points for it. So, and then like we've already gone into, Realm of Chaos, Denizens of the Warp, 2 very good stratagems for this. 3-inch deep strike, up and down, just allows you to keep moving about, keep getting to the different objectives, be able to cleanse. Next, we have Engage on All Fronts. So, Engage on All Fronts is about being everywhere on the board, and that's what demons do best. So, you get 2 points if you have a unit, or at least one unit in 3 of the 4 quarters. You have to be within 3 inches from each of the other quarters, and then you get 4 points if you're in all 4 quarters. So, again, units we like for this is Shalaxian Keepers because they're all very fast. They can all advance with Warp Surge, they can charge, allowing them to still do their thing. Nurglings, again, they infiltrate, they can get you good early game engage, being able to deploy them on certain deployments, being able to get them forward, move them forward if you go first, and then being able to score that. Fleshhounds have good speed on them with the 12-inch movement and beasts. Same with Screamers with their 14-inch movement beast. Flamers are good for dropping down and fitting in all the gaps. And Seeker Chariots are also pretty good at it with their speed of 14-inch movement, being able to get them into different areas of the board and just zoom them forward to be able to grab those quarters every turn. So again, Realm of Chaos comes up here because it just allows you to keep doing it. You know, your opponent kills units in certain quarters, you pick up spare units in other quarters, bring them back down in those quarters, and just rinse and repeat. Denizens of the Warp, again, 3-inch deep strike. Allows you to get in those small gaps that your opponent may not have properly screened. Again, being able to get you those engage points. And Warp Surge, again, advance and charge, allowing you to get closer, being able to get into those quarters. So, engage, not a bad one. One that I like to take a lot when I take fixed. Something we do very well. We just score. We can move about the board. We score engage pretty well because of the amount of units we can take that can kind of fit in those small gaps, be able to move and zoom forward quite nice. So overall engage pretty good. And then finally we're going for probably the best of the secondary options in the game, which is deploy teleport homer. So with this, it's 3 points if you do an action within 6 inches of the center, 4 points if you do the action in your opponent's deployment zone. So you don't have to be wholly within 6 inches of the center, and you don't have to wholly be within your opponent's deployment zone, which is quite nice, meaning that it's harder for your opponents to screen it, and just gives you a bit of leeway where you can be to do it. So probably the best unit for this is Nurglings, because again, at 40 points, they don't need OC to do anything. They can already start 6 away from the center, or enough that they can move up to it. Being able to string them back so they can sit within 6 inches of Bellicor, meaning they can't be shot. If you go first, they move forward. If you go second, you can up and down them. Keeping them within 6 of Bellicor allows you to also have shadows on them, so you can put them with another unit up and be able to bring them back down. They've got a small footprint, so being able to drop into a lot of gaps, especially with Denizens of the Warp, being able to drop into any gap with that 3-inch deep strike. 40 points gets you 4 victory points, and then if your opponent kills it, fine, they kill 40 points. It already did its job. Flamers and Beasts, again, both small footprints, fit into small gaps. Seeker Chariots, very fast. They do have assault on their whip shooting attacks, so it does mean they've got a 14-inch move, can advance, and still do any kind of action. So being able to just zoom them up, especially if you get them to a mid-board to get ready for the next turn, zoom them up from there, get into your opponent's deployment zone, get you 4 points. Fleshhounds and Screamers, again, same, just speed. Speed, being able to be beasts, so they can just go through walls. Just good for setting up in the mid and then being able to go forward. Or if you don't have Nurglings, or you're not putting your Nurglings in position to do it turn 1, you can set Hounds or Screamers up, you know, around the ability to be able to move forward, get within 6 of the center, and score those points. And again, a common theme here, Realm of Chaos and Denizens of the Warps. 2 very, very good stratagems in general. Very good for scoring our secondaries. Realm of Chaos allows you to just keep picking units up and keep throwing them across the board. Denizens of the Warp allows you to get in those little gaps. Especially if your opponent tries to screen you up their deployment or the center of the board. It's quite hard to do that and be able to keep with the game plan that they have going. So deploy teleport home are definitely probably the best option for anyone in the game, not just us, to take as a fixed secondary option. You should realistically or reliably be scoring 4 points at least 3 to 4 turns with this, with if you ration out your CP properly, because you always want to be keeping CP aside from Realm of Chaos. Just be careful if your opponent has units like Calidus Assassins or units that can up your CP, because obviously Realm of Chaos is a battle tactic, so that is what will be hit. So you need to then plan out properly, deep strike the right amount of units so you can keep coming up and down, maybe sacrificing a couple turns to do it in the center and dropping just 2 points. But like I said, 3 points for the center, 4 points for the opponent's deployment zone. You don't mind dropping 2 if you can then play the rest of the game to stop your opponent from scoring on primary and also denying their secondaries when you can. So overall, we have a pretty good fixed secondary game. We have the ability to just be around the board constant, being able to go up and down, keeping your opponents thinking. So no matter what, you can just keep scoring those secondaries. Deploy and engage, I like, very good combination. Behind is also a really good one. Assassinate in the right cases can be good. Bring it down again in the right cases can be good. So overall, like I said, pretty good fixed secondary game. Just some ideas there. If there's any units you have good success with doing certain secondaries, please let me know. Always interested to hear how other people get on. Please check out Facebook and Instagram. Keep up to date with all our uploads, tournament progress, and all that kind of stuff. check out Creaturecaster, awesome third-party Greater Demon models, heralds, troop units, and all that kind of stuff. And then please check out the 6++ guys, channel, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. Awesome videos, awesome content. Keep up to date with everything they do as well. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next one.